Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. I'm your host, Peter, and I am still here. Tonight we have Mr. Matt Rosa. Matt started out as a young punk rock kid in Miami, Florida, coming from little means, but a lot of spirit, drive, and love for his family. He took all of this, had a million part-time, full-time jobs that he couldn't stand, and finally, along with his partner, Jason Brown, have continually defied expectations in the marketing sphere, becoming some of the youngest self-made millionaires in that industry. How you go from the punk rock scene, having next to nothing, looking around at family members who are in need of your help, going from working for other people and making other people wealthy to making yourself wealthy, completing all of this with the help of his then fiancée, building an empire for himself. How do you not root for that guy? How do you not love somebody who can do that and yet still pay it forward? Still have love for their community, the place they came from, punk rock. Matt goes and he does all of this. He builds himself into someone that he felt he could be proud of. And then he picks up his instrument again after years and years of not playing and starts putting out this very unique spin on pop punk or emo or whatever you want to call it. It's of us. It's from the scene. It's still punk rock, but he's putting his own voice to it. He's putting his own vibe to it. It's its own animal. People strive for years to get their own sound, and that's what he's achieved. He's achieved his own fortunes on his own terms, and he's achieved his own sound on his own terms. And that's just something we have to champion in this thing of ours. If we don't, what are we still doing here? What are we still being punks for if we're not saluting those who are helping to reinvent it? That being said, this is Matt Rosa on the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. All right, Matt. Listen, I realize you probably don't know a whole lot about what I do with this podcast. I don't ask a lot of dumb questions about who's your influence and, the like, because we all kind of already know, you know what I mean? To a degree, anyone who's listening to you knows what you're into. But I think more or less what the first thing I would like to know really is, how did it start for you? Your like love of music and what kind of like instilled that passion in you?
Yeah. For me, I got started inside of the music space as a fan, like the vast majority of us do.
Yeah.
I was back in like circa 2010, 2009, 2008, around that era. I was just going to punk shows out here in Miami, pop punk shows, piling in to see the Wonder Years. Shout out to Mike Kennedy,
Yeah.
who actually played all the drums on my record, my last two records. Going to see, Fireworks, La Dispute, Foxing, shout out to Connor Murphy, and all these bands. And I remember how it was that they were making me feel. And at the time I had only been playing guitar inside of my room. And I decided, you know what, like let's go ahead and let's actually take a jab at this and see where it is that this thing gets us. So I started off by just admiring the greats inside of the scene. And then from there, they inspired me enough to not only start writing music, but to really, really pursue a new dream of mine.
The thing is too, like, you bring a different flavor to it, and that's immediate. The second someone hears it, there's a sincere Motown almost vibe to
Oh,
your
yo.
vocals, and that's my heart. You know what I mean? Outside of being a hardcore kid from the late 80s, I grew up on Motown records. That's what got played around the house. Was that something that was kind of a latent influence, or was it more just what happened?
Peter, in my household, there was everything being played, man.
Yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican, so Latino descent, and all types of Latin music was being played inside of my house. Everything from, Mark Anthony to John Mayer, and from John Mayer over to the Wallflowers, and from the Wallflowers on over to old school rock and roll like Jimi Hendrix Experience, and everything in between, so R&B, rap, hip hop. So I grew up not really, I guess I had an identity crisis when it came to how to use my vocals. And for a long time, I just try to sound like a lot of different people, like I think we all do as we're sourcing our inspiration. And then I kind of found my own vibe. And interesting enough, it was when I really started to listen to music outside of the scene is where I found my own swag.
What I find really colorful about that, though, is I can't really pinpoint anyone else that's doing stuff like musically that sounds like Texas is the Reason or Taking Back Sunday, and infusing it with a very mellifluous, very relevant to almost a different genre, and injecting that into this musical space. I think that stands out in a very particular way, but I think it also conveys a lot of pain, which quite possibly could be lost on a lot of people.
Yeah.
But to me, it's palpable. I feel it, like it's tactile. It's all over the music to me. Could you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, man. So when I decided to get back into the studio, I hadn't played a show in like 15 years. I took a long break from music from when I was a kid. And right around quarantine COVID time, I was, because for my business, I'm an entrepreneur outside of music. And for my business, I was just traveling 60% of the year on the road, making it happen. And then quarantine happens and I'm stuck at home, and I hadn't, dude, I literally, it sounds crazy, but I have writer's block for like maybe 8 years, bro. 8 to 10 years I had writer's block. I could not write a song to save my life. It was one of the most frustrating times in my life too.
Yeah,
And then I started writing, and I reached out to Ace Enders of the Early November, who I just got off a tour with actually. And we began recording. And in the beginning, my music wasn't meant to be put out. I was very wrapped in what it was that I was doing, very focused in what it was that I was doing. And I had no intentions of releasing this music. It was just more so to get some shit off my chest, man.
yeah,
Like a diary in essence. And you think about it, dude, from the last time I played music to the time there, it was about, anywhere between 12 to 15 years. And in that time, so much had happened
yeah,
inside of my life, so much pain, so much angst, so much trauma, that my inner child was healing from, bro. And this was my chance to just talk my shit and get it off of my chest. And I did so. And then Ace was like, all right, JK, we're actually releasing this music. Like, you got to release this stuff. And yeah, well, here we are. And now people, it's an open book now. I got real personal because I didn't think anyone was going to hear it. But here we are, and we're singing the songs across the states.
and what's I think can be very terrifying for all musicians, myself included. Being autobiographical, you are laying yourself bare, and it tends to, for people who come from sordid backgrounds, as I certainly did, uh, it feels like I'm painting a target on my forehead. Is
All
that
right.
kind of like what you were feeling? Like, okay, here it is, it's out there, I'm naked, and the target's right here.
For strangers, dude, it doesn't bother me because I mean, what you think about me, I know a lot of people say like, oh, I don't care what people think. I genuinely, like, it's a weird skill set that I have. Like, I have rhino skin. Maybe it was the way I was raised and the areas that I was raised in. But for the people that I'm close to, and like my friends and my family members, and like I was talking some real stories that a lot of them were there that I went through. And that was more so like, oh man, like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna do? Or like, are they gonna think I have a drinking problem? Are they gonna think that I have substance abuse issues? Are they gonna think that I'm suicidal? Or like, and that was more so because I genuinely, when it comes to the people that I love, those are the only people that really give a damn. And that it was received the right way, man. It was received amazingly. And oddly enough, it was a lot of the things that they were either going through or they had went through themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to the new single today, and I just recently gave up drinking like a week ago.
Nice.
This is my first sober podcast
Nice.
ever, and it just the lyrics started resonating with me. Like, oh shit, this is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's me. Holy shit, you know. And that's prescient because You can, although, obviously strangers, you're not like investing anything into them, but you are giving them something that, can embolden them and strengthen them. That has to feel good.
Nah, it definitely does, man. I'm very, one of the slogans for my business are people over profits.
Hmm.
I'm very big on just giving and expecting nothing in return. But and I'm very big on leadership, right? I believe that leadership is the ability to take someone somewhere that they had no intention of going, and they thank you when they get there. And like the pop punk scene did that for me. If they have the ability to make people follow, I want you guys to recognize that there's two ways to truly help somebody. The first is manipulation, while the second is inspiration. Acts of manipulation are having people fear consequences. If you don't do this, this will happen. And you see, leaders don't manipulate. Another action when it comes to manipulation is to take away in order to influence individuals. If you're using the takeaway method in order to scare somebody into doing what it is that you want, you were not leading them, you were not inspiring them, you were manipulating them. You see, the problem with manipulation is that it doesn't breed loyalty, it doesn't breed trust, and it is not sustainable. You see, one of the acts of inspiration is putting people in an environment to win. You could make more friends in 2 months being genuinely interested in people than you would in 2 years trying to get people interested in you. Another act of inspiration, guys, another act of inspiration is serving unconditionally. Yes, we understand as chairmen that we are not chairmen because of our own doings. We recognize that. And in order to get to chairman, you have to pay your dues. You have to make sure that they're trusting you for the right reasons. Again, we have an identity crisis when it comes to leadership. And it's hard to recognize leadership when there's so many people online flaunting cars, when there's so many people online flaunting watches, when there's so many people online flaunting a lifestyle that they may not be. And it's hard because now everybody's starting to camouflage and look the same. And people are becoming desensitized towards it. I want you to understand that if you're a leader, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility isn't to help you with your rank. That responsibility isn't to help you with your volume. That responsibility isn't to help yourself. It is a responsibility to make sure that you are leading people in the proper direction. You understand me? Because if you're trying to go chairman, guys, I promise you, 99% of your day is not about you. It's not about your loved ones. It's not about the things that are going on in life. Guys, we just like you go through heartbreak. We just like you go through death. We just like you go through the same exact things. Doubt, insecurities, anxiety. But we have to push that aside because we got people that are depending on us. So on the same time that you can do that, that's when you're properly leading. But make sure that you're doing so with the right intentions. Make sure that you're doing so in order to build a relationship, not a relationship. A real relationship. What do I mean by that? It's authentic. My team, my squad, this entire room, this company knows for a fact that this energy is real.
I remember the day that I wish I wasn't sober and I couldn't afford my favorite drink anymore. I remember the day that I wish I was older. Here I am, trying to slow down time. Another day, another night. I wanna fade, I wanna fight. Time to change, so have I. Time to change. Do I wanna get drunk, or does it wanna get me? I'm stuck, but I'm starting to see. I'm done being faded. I know that I hate it. Being empty-minded is so fucked up. I'm done being faded. I know that I hate it.
it led me to a really, really, really good place inside of my life. So the opportunity to do that, it was interesting. This last tour, the conversations that I had by the merch tables and the conversations that I had on my way to the bathroom, and like it was during the banter more than the songs themselves that I was able to connect with people my age that are going through some real life things, man. We're living in a twisted world right now where there's so much going on and there's so much to fear. And when you step into that room for a brief moment with people that are going through similar things as you, and for a brief moment, even if it's just for a song, that doesn't matter, bro. You help change the trajectory of their day. And then that compounds to change in the trajectory of their life little by little, man.
Yeah, especially, and having the ability to do that and have that empathy when you have a child in the world.
Yeah.
It's vastly even more important. You know, that's a real anchor. You know, cards on the table. I'm 46 and I have a 3-year-old downstairs. I hit the family reset button, and you know, there's something that just sparks more life in you and more love and more light into your soul via having this child.
Yep.
But it also brings a lot of fear for me because of the world at large. Is that something that you're struggling with as well as a parent?
I think one of the man, I just had my first my daughter is 2.5 months. I had my first night where my wife went and had a girls' night, and I was there. And I'm just like looking at this thing that I created, and it is just the sweetest thing. Like, she's starting to make facial expressions now and like laughing, and she's starting to recognize us. And it's absolutely insane because I've seen myself change overnight. While my wife was pregnant, I felt like I was going crazy. I was like, I'm not connected to this baby. But the moment I heard the baby cry, I was like, oh, okay, it's here, and we're gonna do this. And I've turned into the biggest softie in the world. I caught myself crying during a movie the other day. And I was like, yeah, this is absolutely crazy. But to an extent, yeah, I do have that fear of the unknown, because like for the rest of my life, I think that's always going to be there no matter what happens, even when the baby is my age or when the baby is your age. I don't see it going away. However, I do take comfort in the fact that I believe it takes a village, it takes community to raise a child. And I got the best of community around me at all times. And I'm excited to see the role that they play inside of her life as well.
That's a great way to look at it, because you know, there are people out there who don't, I guess, especially in this day and age, embrace the larger scope of family and friends and when it comes to your child's life, because there's a lot of paranoia, there's a lot of fear in the world. I think a majority of this society now is, as we could see now during this midterm voting cycle, is governed by fear. People make all of their decisions based not on what they love but what they fear. And from what I've read of you with your marketing and what I've listened to with your music, it seems like you're not really coming from a place of fear. It's more of a place of love and exploration.
Yeah, place of hope, man.
Yeah.
The title to the EP that's coming out is called Give It Everything. And the reason I named it that, I had um stepped into the studio with Ace Enders, and it was written on the wall to my left. And at this point, I'm sitting there trying to find my sound, and I'm kind of beating my head against the wall, and it's like, ain't nothing sticking, man. And we were writing a song about my family called Family. And he kind of coached me into going into a dark place and then making it through that dark place. And then seeing Give It Everything on the wall, it ended up becoming the title for the next EP that would soon follow. But for me, it's, man, give it everything in hopes for hope, right? I think that that's something that people are just so fucking hungry for, bro. They just want that hope, man. That 4-letter word changes just so much of their mindset. And, you know, at the end of the day, we can't change what it is that we do until we change the way it is that we think. And all I want to do is just help the way it is that people change the way it is that they think, man. Because if I can do that through my music, through my words, through my lyrics, through my actions, I know for a fact that these people could relate with me. And if they could relate with me, they're going to be able to relate with the struggle a lot easier than the success. But if they see the struggle first, which is the vulnerability of the music, and then from there, they see how far it is that I've come. And if you listen to a lot of my songs, it's, we made it through. Like, we were here, but now we're good. We made it through, and things are a lot better now. If they're able to relate with the struggles, then maybe, just maybe, they can see themselves relating with the success. And if they could relate with the success, man, like, you just stretch their mind. And Like I believe in this concept where like the mind is like a t-shirt, right? And if you stretch this t-shirt, no matter what it is that you do, it'll never go back to its original size. The collar will never fit the exact same way. The shirt will never fit. And I believe that if you could stretch your mind past its barriers of normal thinking, past its habitual patterns, you're never going to go back to thinking the same way. So once you taste that hope, and once you have a glimmer of what that hope is, you're always going to keep striving for that hope. And it keeps you going in essence.
And you've applied that in music and in business. I mean, you have a very, I'm sure most people know by now, you have a very incredible story. I mean, having, you know, a lot like me, I left school. I was taken out of school. But you left school to try to do better for those around you. So it seems like every move you make, you're not just calculating for that person in the mirror. It's the ramifications of who it's going to affect on a larger scale. And I think that's an important personality trait. And
Thank you.
A lot of people with, like you'd mentioned before, people are going to think you have substance abuse problems. I'd never glean that, even though you do talk about drinking. Everybody likes to party. People who have substance abuse issues are inherently selfish creatures.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know from experience, it's just what that is. And that's why I hadn't assumed that you had something like that going on, because from the beginning of your business story, it's about taking care of your siblings, you know, taking care of family. That approach really resonates through the music. And I just wanted to let you know that it's not really a question. I
appreciate that.
I'm recognizing that, you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
Some call it fear. Others fear the unknown. Some call it anxiety. Whatever it is, been living with it for as long as I can remember. And over the past few years, more than ever. My life's a fast one, surrounded by people at any given time, city after city. On the exterior, you can never tell, but inside it feels like I'm living in hell. Last March, I literally thought I was going insane because I couldn't figure out the cause. Waking up early with it inside of my head, going to sleep late with it crawling through my bed, visiting me every chance it get. You know, it's like I'm trying to breathe underwater or run towards something that only gets further. And it's weird because in life, as we get older or more successful, we're expected to have it all figured out. I think the truth is that we never really have it figured out. Peaks and valleys, man. Peaks and valleys. A series of highs, followed by a series of lows in repetition. Crazy thing is, I'm able to flip it off like a light switch, especially when I need to because I have to. If you're living like this, where you don't feel like you're in control, like your body is an empty shell, where things aren't as exciting as they should be, love doesn't feel as amazing as it should, and food doesn't taste as good as it should, and almost every room that you walk into, you're looking for an escape, I've got good news. This too shall pass. You see, life's a series of moments, dude. And the goal is to win each of these moments. And if you don't, at least take comfort in the fact that that moment's gonna pass. Also realize that the good times are gonna pass as well, so I'm doing my best to be present and let go of anything and everything that isn't serving me. I don't know. It could be the death of my father, my family's drug issues, being alone for so many years and feeling forgotten. Whatever it is, I choose to stay in control. And I understand it may not be a constant, but I consistently try to. You never know what people are going through, yo. Be kind. Check on your loved ones. And whatever you do, remember to breathe.
So what's kind of like the next step musically for you? Is there something you're like dying to tackle?
Yeah, so stepping into the music scene, like in business and entrepreneurial realm, I kind of control what happens next based off my own efforts. And with music, it's like this hurry up to wait game. So like we prepared for probably like a month and a half for this last tour. We went on tour with Vinny Carana from the movie Life and
Yep.
I'm Avalanche, which I mean, I fucking love that guy.
Genius.
Yeah.
Constant Elevation too. Don't forget Constant Elevation. That other
Yeah,
album.
bro. He's such bro. Like it was my first time getting a kick it with him, and such a gorgeous human being, man. And on that tour, we also had early November celebrating their 20th year anniversary. So it was a really big deal for me because this is only my second tour ever. And I think in total I played 13 shows or something along those lines.
Wow.
Yeah, just starting off, man, catch me at the ground level. And I worked so hard for this, like for about a month and a half, um, just busting my tail on rehearsing. It was my first time playing with tracks and in-ear monitors, and it was just wild. Do so many
Yeah.
moving parts, and like I've never set up stages before. I've like it was just wild. And then we kicked ass. We did our thing, man, and we won over some hearts, and it was incredible. And I just 2 days ago, I get back from tour, and it was bittersweet because we could have kept the tour going, but being a new father, I wanted to come home and spend time with the baby. And I got home and I kind of had the tour blues, and I was like, man, what's next? So jumped on a call with my project manager for this EP that's coming out, Mr. Joe Morrow. And him and I just kind of strategize what potentially the next 12 months are going to look like. And for me, man, I'm just going to put in the reps, bro. I'm not too big or too small for anything. I am here to completely learn and to completely serve, and I'm just going to put in the reps and jump on as many stages as possible. We're very focused on the social media aspect of the marketing, especially with the fact that I've seen so much success inside of that realm. So we're going to take that internet marketing just to be able to do some of the heavy lifting for us and get that work smarter than harder mentality out there,
Yeah.
especially with having a baby. But regardless of the fact, I spoke to my wife when I got back. We're buying a van, and we're ready for whatever it is that it takes. We're gonna quite literally give it everything. And that means, more studio time. That means properly releasing this EP. That means touring and gigging, whether it's a weekend thing or a month-long thing. That means looking for the right representation if it does make sense for both parties. That means getting as much content out there as possible in regards to music videos and live studio sessions and the whole nine yards. And we're just gonna bust our ass and allow everything else to become a byproduct of that. It's interesting. I'm not doing this from a money perspective.
Right.
So it's strictly passion, just fueling.
I think you'll yield a lot of success from that attitude, because I mean that is essentially the punk attitude. I'm not doing this for any other reason than the release.
Yep.
The and like embracing the euphoria of putting something you created into the ether and having it returned to you by the hearts and minds of other people enjoying it. That was always what had drawn me to the entire hardcore punk thing. But just the fact that you're an entrepreneur, it just brings to mind my wife. My wife's an entrepreneur as well. I don't have it in me for some reason, but she's the one who gets me going. You know what I mean? She's this podcast, her. Like marching orders come from my wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same on this end. Same on this end.
What do you think it takes though to be someone who is a successful entrepreneur? What is the like the kernel of that spirit?
I think the kernel is purpose, man. If you are able to find a place where you're able to bridge purpose, passion, and paychecks,
Hmm.
you found the holy trifecta.
Yeah.
Purpose, passion, and paychecks, something that, gives you fulfillment, something that gets you excited in the morning,
Hmm.
it's something that you're able to solve problems for someone else with. I think that's what the most successful entrepreneurs have. And that's what it is that I see inside of music. That's what it is that I see inside my current business model. And I don't touch a lot of businesses. it doesn't check all three boxes.
Right.
I just refuse to do it because I have, just like you do and everyone else listening to this, a very limited time on this earth. And if it's not passion, if it's not purpose driven, and if it's not going to pay me so I can take care of those that I love and set an example for other people, I'm just not interested. I can give up the pay for certain things like philanthropy,
Yeah.
and giving back to the community, because it still checks off the purpose and the passion. But from a business perspective, it has to check off all three.
That's a pretty incredible feat to pull off, to have something that inspires all three of those
It is
different spheres.
and it's hard as shit.
I know. Listen, I have a semi-lucrative plumbing career, but I don't love it. I'm just good at it. You know what I mean?
I hear that.
I love doing this, but there's no money in it.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to meld the two, and that's how I piece it all together. You know what I mean? It's to find all three in one spot is, you're right. That's like that's like finding the grail.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I spent years looking for it.
What was the first moment though? Okay, I'm gonna strike out on my own. I'm sick of making other people rich. I'm sick of that whole vibe.
Yeah, dude, I had 21 jobs before I was 21 years old. So I just could not for the life of me keep a job. Sometimes it was authority problems, sometimes it was respect problems, sometimes it was laziness, it was just so many different factors. And I was just like, man, and when I did have a job, it was no more than like a few months, 4 to 5 months. And that's when I said, man, something's got to change. If nothing changes, nothing's going to change inside of my life. So instead of just taking that route, I tried school, going back to college for physical therapy. And I despised it. I last a semester and I was like, man, this ain't it. And then I was like, you know what, man, let me go into business for myself. And from there, that's what it was. It was the frustration of constant failure that made me completely change what it was that I was doing.
Pulling out your pictures from my memory, as vivid as it was, I still can't see. I'm trying to remember how you taste, 'cause it was just the other day. I swear you were perfect in my dream. Those eyes used to know me well. Those lips used to kiss and tell me stories that'll never let me sleep again. Those eyes used to know me well. Those lips used to kiss and tell me stories that'll never let me sleep again.
Well, that's an incredible motivator.
Yeah.
I always wished I had the balls to do it. It's tough. It's one thing though. I think you kind of hit that stride at the right time. You were a teenager, right? Or at least that's when you were thinking about
21.
it. You were 21.
Yeah, 21.
I'm 46.
Age ain't nothing but a number, man.
Yeah, you could say that, but you know, when you got 2 kids in the world, and
I hear that.
it's rough. But you know, if you were to try and take somebody like me, or even someone probably younger, and try and motivate them to kind of walk in that same path, well, how would you go about that?
Well, first and foremost, people need to understand that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Mhm,
And it for me, I know that you're gonna have to eat so much shit before you eat caviar.
mhm,
You're gonna have to just go through the ringer, and you're gonna have to sacrifice. And sacrifice means giving up something you can't afford in order to succeed. And you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot. And for the first few years, you're gonna work a lot more than you get paid, and then you're gonna eventually get paid more than you work. That's the goal. But um, I would say first and foremost, having a conscious realization of whether or not this is for you. And then from there, going back to that holy trifecta, man, making sure that there's passion, making sure that there's purpose, and making sure that you're able to get paid off of solving solutions for people. And then from there, finding somebody that's done it inside of your realm
mhm.
and working enough to be able to grab the attention of that said individual in order to gain mentorship. So like, it's kind of the same thing I did with it's kind of the same thing that I did with music. I went ahead and I made sure that it was the right timing for me inside of my life. I had accomplished what it was that I was looking to accomplish. I was able to do so on my own terms. I was passion driven by it. It gave me purpose because I could genuinely give people hope and show and lead by example. And then I could make money off of it, which is a plus, but that wasn't the goal. And then I just began to work really, really hard until, people like Ace started to say, I'm going to bet on this kid.
Yeah,
And I have a good feeling about this kid, and I'm gonna bring him out on a tour. And then you have this chance, you have this opportunity, and it doesn't matter if you have the opportunity of a lifetime if you're not willing to take advantage of it in the lifetime of the opportunity. So the next thing I would say is when that window does open, no matter how small or how big, bust that shit wide open, bro, and give it everything.
yeah. I I My wife says the same type of things to me, and it's just, you
She
know,
knows what's good.
she knows what's up. She's done it
Yeah.
before. She's done it a few times before. Incredible human being. I think that's also kind of why I was drawn to your story. I was like reading this, and my wife's Dominican. I'm like, maybe,
Hey, mi gente, mi gente.
yeah, right. Like maybe it's just the cut of my jib. I don't know. I never really. I always wanted to, but I never really made it happen. I think what I'm doing here with this show is the zygote, though. This is as close as I'm going to get
Heck yeah.
to that magic formula. You know what I mean? I think I didn't ask you the main question, the first question I ask everybody who comes on this show, and it might sound trite to you, it might sound weird. Uh, what is it that terrifies you on an existential level?
What is it that terrifies me? If you would have asked me that 2 months ago, I would have had a completely different answer. But these days, it's not being there for my daughter.
Yeah,
Um, I grew up without a dad. My dad was murdered at a very early age, and I that's one of my biggest fears. My daughter's now 2 months old. That was the age I was when my dad was murdered. So I've always been like, man, we got to make it past that 2 month mark out of just like trauma. And that's one of my biggest fears, not being there for her. But I have strong faith. I'm a very big believer in God, and I believe that if it's His will, I'm gonna be able to be there for her until she's in her grave, man. And that or until I'm in my grave, and that is the goal, man, to just be able to teach her, to be able to guide her on little things like how to brush your teeth to bigger things on, how to choose a spouse, rules, ethos, ethics that we have as a family. So my biggest thing is not being here for my wife and not being here for my child.
yeah, I mean, that's as heavy as it gets, really. And I'm going to tell you something. Every time I ask this question, there's always a freaky duality with either myself and the guest or someone in my purview and the guest. When my wife was 6 months old, her mother passed away, and it's like it's crazy. It's the same driving,
Yeah, that's
like or guiding principle, like like what not to do. Here's what I'm not going to do, and stick to that. and it's pretty it's unique. I don't know what it is about that question that kind of binds everybody, but I think fear is the thing that,
Yeah, because it's pure vulnerability.
yeah, you stick your hand in the fire, you're never going to stick your hand in that fire again, you know? I mean, there's a wisdom to some fears. Not like being afraid of the dark, but you know, there's a lot of intelligence to be gleaned by you know, not only what you've done to hurt yourself, but what has hurt others. That's the difference between wisdom and intellect, actually. Wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes instead of making them yourself, or at least that's how it was
100%.
explained to me, you know. Um, so
Love that.
I guess the moral of your story, and we'd said it before, it's like, if I were to put a byline on it, is, you know, hope conquers. That's how it seems to me anyway. That's what keeps reverberating in this conversation. There's a lot of confidence, but there's just a lot of faith. Are you Christian in faith,
Yeah.
or are you just more like a spiritual?
Yeah. Definitely Christian. Definitely Christian. Newborn Christian at that, like the
Yeah,
last 3 years.
I'm Christian as well. That's the only reason I asked. And you know, I got away from it when I was a kid. I found my way right back to it because it's the only thing that makes sense. But listen, man.
100% and 100%. Actually got baptized with my wife. Yeah, crazy experience.
You must have felt the
Yeah.
spirit right in the room with you at that point.
In the
Amazing. But we're starting to break up here, the connection. So I don't want to screw up any more of your time with clipping and whatnot. But listen, man, this has been an incredible conversation. You're a very inspiring person to me personally, and I know you're inspiring countless other people. And just keep it going, man. And listen, the next time you have an EP coming out, whatever, hit me up. I'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely. Peter, thank you so much for the thought-provoking conversation and just the honesty. I think this is really cool. It wasn't fully focused on the way the songs were written or anything along those lines. It was focused on getting to know who Matt Rosa is.
Yeah.
And it means the world. And if you're watching this right now and you're just about me, you'll learn a lot through the record and you'll learn a lot through the songs. Coming out, we just released a song called Trust Issues. It's available on all streaming platforms. And then we'll have the EP dropping later on in January, which I'm super excited. And again, it's called Give It Everything. And I think that although I'm singing about myself, I think I might be singing about you as well. So super stoked for you guys to check that out. But Peter, nonetheless, thank you so much for having me, man. God bless you, my bro.
God bless you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Talk soon, my bro.
Later.
Thanks.
Folks, that was Matt Rosa. Man, do I love that guy. Good Lord. I talk to a lot of people on here, as you know. If you're a listener, you know that I mind the psyches of so many musicians and artists and authors. And I find a way to appreciate and love each and every one of them. But Matt, I just had an immediate recognition of a kindred spirit in him. I think because we come from similar backgrounds, similar life stories, you know, sans the incredible success that he's had in business. You know, we come from the same places, and we both found ways to apex the negative aspects of where we'd come from and come through on the other side as a different human being. Something grander, a person of hope, a person of faith, a person of humility, and a person of service. And I think that's what Matt does best. He's an inspiring speaker. He's an incredible vocalist. And I just wish all of the best for him. And I can't wait to talk to him again, because this was too brief of a conversation. I need more. I need more from this gentleman, and I think you do too. That being said, he's been Matt. I've been Peter. You've been beautiful. And from all of us at 3:33 a.m. Studios, this has been the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. Love to you all. Also, I want to put this out there. We are taking donations. We are taking subscriptions. With your subscription, you will get one brand new exclusive episode that no one else gets every month. Also, you will get the download code for the Book of Very, Very Bad Things soundtrack album, which will be coming out in the new year. It is songs from almost every musician who was in season 1 of the podcast. So you get that. You will get a chance to buy merch that no one else has access to. It'll be just for subscribers. So hit me up on Instagram if you want to know more. Otherwise, the links are anywhere you're streaming. You just click on the podcast page, the full page, open it up, and it will lead you to where you need to go to support the Book of Very, Very Bad Things podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Bless you all. Good night.
And I'm steady fighting to make sense of all of this. Created trust issues in my head. Take a step forward, then I take 2 back. Even when I'm laughing, I'm still sad.
This episode of the podcast has been brought to you by Sweet Cheetah Publicity. Sweet Cheetah is an inclusive, socially conscious PR collective that puts their money where their mouth is. They have a current roster of bands that reads like a greatest hits anthology. Brainiac, Catholic School, Jawbox, The New Amsterdams, Oceans in the Sky. I mean, the list goes on and on. They also do PR for record labels such as A La Carte, Arctic Rodeo, Steadfast, Rad Girlfriend, and so many more. How do they pay it forward? How do they put their money where their mouth is? By generating thousands of dollars in annual charitable donations to the likes of Women in Vinyl, Coalition of Communities of Color, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and many, many more. The man has the receipts. I've seen them. It is real. The artists, labels, and podcasts Sweet Cheetah works with are curated with an eye on working primarily with friends. You could find Sweet Cheetah on all of the social media platforms, be it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just look for Sweet Cheetah PR, and they will be there. He's been Tim, I've been Peter, and Sweet Cheetah has been beautiful.